Ember's Oath. Chapter 12, Part 4, Ember. Ledger looked down at his notebook. I've started putting together a timeline. He slid several sheets of paper across the table. The apartment fire happened first. 3 days later, the workshop. Last night, the house. Torch studied the map on the wall. They're spread all over Rapid City. No obvious pattern. Torque folded his muscular arms. Not geographically, but maybe there's another connection. Stone looked at me. Any thoughts? I stared at the map. 3 red pins marked the fire locations. On their own. They looked random, but something about them bothered me. I stepped closer. What if... Everyone looked up. What if we're looking at the buildings instead of the people? Silence filled the office. Falcon frowned. Go on. I looked back at the map. My apartment wasn't important. The workshop wasn't important. And that family's house wasn't important. I turned back to the room. But the people inside. I paused. They mattered. Stone's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. You think someone's choosing victims, not buildings. I don't know. But if I'm right, then we need to stop asking why those places burned. I looked around at each of my brothers. We need to start asking what those people have in common. The room fell silent. No one dismissed the idea. No one laughed. Because deep down, every man in that office knew exactly what I did. We weren't just hunting an arsonist anymore. We were hunting someone with a reason. The only problem was, we still had no idea what that reason was. The silence in the office stretched on. Stone was the first to break it. All right, let's test the theory. He looked at Ledger. Start with Roxie. Ledger nodded and opened his notebook. What do we know? I leaned back against the wall. She's 28. Paramedic. Moved here from Chicago. Apartment fire happened less than a week after she arrived. Ledger scribbled everything down. No criminal record. No known disputes. No obvious enemies that we've found. Falcon looked at me. Did she mention why she moved? Fresh start. Closer to family. Her older sister, Vivian, and the kids. Torch folded his arms. What about the family on West Boulevard? Ledger flipped another page. Mark and Lisa Collins. Local teachers. They've lived in Rapid City for almost 12 years. They've got one son, 16 years old. No criminal history. No business connections. No obvious link to Roxie. Torque frowned. What about the workshop? I answered that one. The building was empty. Prospect Inc. was finishing up a tattoo appointment when the fire started. Falcon looked over. So was Inc. the target? I shook my head. I don't think so. If someone wanted Inc. dead, they had easier opportunities. Stone rested his elbows on the table. So, we've got 3 scenes, 3 completely different groups of people, and still no connection. The room fell quiet again. Then, Blaze spoke from the doorway. You've missed something. Every head turned. He stood there balancing on his crutches, the walking boot making him look thoroughly irritated. Stone raised an eyebrow. I thought I told you to sit down. You did. I got bored. A few chuckles circled the room. Stone sighed. Come in then. Blaze hobbled over to the map. You've all been looking at who the victims are. He pointed to the 3 red pins. But what if they weren't the victims? Falcon frowned. Explain. Blaze looked at each of us. Who turned up at every single fire? Nobody answered immediately. Then it hit me. The fire department. I looked at my brother. Us. He nodded. The apartment. You and I responded. The workshop. You and I responded. Last night. You and I responded. A few heads in the room shifted at that. Stone frowned slightly. Hold on. He looked between us. That's not right. Blaze exhaled through his nose. It is. He tapped the map again. Every call out. Same structure. Same response team rotation. Falcon slowly shook his head. Blaze, I was at the workshop. Blaze didn't look at him. You were on scene after. Falcon opened his mouth and stopped. Because he was right. Stone's gaze sharpened. Walk me through it? Blaze pointed at the first pin. Apartment fire. Ember and I were first entry. He moved to the second. Workshop. I was first entry again. Ember was off. Then the third. Last night. Same thing. Pause. Then Torch frowned. Wait. He looked between me and Blaze. You two are the ones going in first every time? I felt a cold prickle at the back of my neck. Because hearing it said out loud made it sound wrong. Too consistent. Too precise. Stone's voice dropped. Ember. Blaze. You're telling me you've been the primary entry team on nearly all 3 scenes? Blaze nodded once. Yes, I added quietly. That's just how the rotations fell. Stone didn't look convinced. Falcon leaned forward. Or someone made sure they fell that way. Silence hit the room again. Blaze shifted slightly on his crutches. That's what I'm saying. What if the buildings aren't the target? What if the people inside aren't either? He looked directly at me. What if someone wants us? Not firefighters, not the department. Us. Nobody spoke. Not one of us. Torque was the first to break. That's a hell of a leap. It is, Blaze agreed. But think about it. The apartment fire nearly killed Roxie. It injured Ember. The workshop nearly trapped Ink. Last night nearly took me out. He looked around the room. Every single fire has put Ember and me in the worst possible position. Torch rubbed his jaw slowly. Could still be coincidence. It could, Blaze nodded. But he looked at Stone. What if it isn't? Stone stared at the map for a long moment. Then his eyes shifted to me. Ember, what do your instincts say? I hated that question, because my instincts had been screaming since the first fire. I took a slow breath. I think... I looked at Blaze, then the map, then the pins. Someone is controlling the response. Falcon frowned. How? I shook my head. I don't know. But it doesn't feel random anymore. Blaze nodded once. Exactly. Stone exhaled slowly. And if that's true, he looked back at the map. Then last night wasn't just another fire. It was a test. Nobody argued, because none of us could prove it wrong. A knock sounded on the office door. Hitch poked his head inside. Sorry to interrupt. Stone looked over. What is it? The fire marshal's here. Every eye in the room widened. Harris? I asked. Hitch nodded. He's downstairs. Says he needs to speak to Ember and Blaze. Stone didn't hesitate. Bring him up. A minute later, Fire Marshal Harris stepped into the office carrying a thick case file. He looked exhausted, like none of us had slept. He placed the file on Stone's desk. I've got the preliminary findings. Stone gestured to an empty chair. You want coffee? Harris shook his head. I've had enough coffee to keep me awake until Christmas. A few tired smiles flickered and died. Then Harris opened the file. I'll keep this simple. He laid several photographs across the table. Charred floorboards, burn patterns, blackened electrical sockets. I recognized the upstairs bedroom. The fire didn't start by accident. We already suspected that, Stone said. Harris nodded. I can now confirm it. He pointed to one of the photographs. Accelerant was poured in 3 separate locations. Then another. The bedroom, the landing, and the staircase. Torch frowned. The staircase. Harris looked directly at me and Blaze. It was designed to cut off the main escape route. The room fell completely silent. I remembered standing at the top of those stairs. The heat, the collapse. Blaze grabbing my arm and pulling me back just before the floor gave way. Harris closed the file. I've investigated fires for 23 years. He met each of our eyes in turn. And I've only ever seen this level of planning from one type of arsonist. Stone's voice was barely above a whisper. What type? Harris answered without hesitation. One who knows exactly how firefighters respond. A cold silence settled over the room, because the question we were all thinking was no longer who set the fires. It was who was watching us closely enough to learn how we would walk into them. Nobody spoke. The weight of Harris's words settled over the room like smoke. One who knows exactly how firefighters think. Stone broke the silence first. You're saying this wasn't random? Harris shook his head. No. Random fires don't have three separate points of origin. They don't use accelerants the way this one did. And they certainly don't block the primary escape route like that. Falcon leaned forward. So someone was trying to kill firefighters. Harris exhaled slowly. I can't prove intent. Not yet. But I can tell you this. He tapped one of the photographs. If that teenager hadn't been reported trapped, you never would have gone upstairs? I frowned. What are you saying? The emergency call reported a missing occupant. It forced your search to the second floor. The room went still. So, either, Harris continued, there really was a trapped teenager, or whoever set that fire knew exactly how to make sure firefighters went into the most dangerous part of the building. My stomach tightened, but there was a teenager. There was. He was lucky. He'd already lost consciousness before the fire reached his room. Harris closed the folder. I'm simply pointing out that whoever planned this understood exactly how firefighters make decisions under pressure. Stone rested his hands on the desk. What about the apartment fire? I'm reopening it. Everyone looked at him. I wasn't the lead investigator on that scene. I am now. And the workshop? Same. Falcon frowned. You're taking all three. Harris nodded. I've spoken with the fire chief. Given the similarities, one investigator will oversee every suspicious fire tied to this pattern. I didn't like the situation, but I liked that someone was finally seeing what we were seeing. Stone looked at me. Ember, you were first in at the apartment, you were first in at the workshop, and you were inside the house last night. What stands out? I closed my eyes briefly, letting it all replay. Smoke, heat, flames, chaos. Then, something. I remember a smell. Everyone turned toward me. What kind of smell? Harris asked. Not smoke. Not petrol. I frowned, trying to pin it down. It was sweet. Harris's eyes sharpened. Sweet? I nodded slowly. I noticed it at Roxie's apartment. I thought it was something in the building at first. He wrote it down immediately. The workshop had it too. And last night, I looked back at the photograph of the house. I caught it just before we went upstairs. Harris didn't speak for a moment. Then he opened his case again and pulled out an evidence bag. Inside was a small blackened fragment of cloth. It shouldn't influence your memory, but this was recovered from the upstairs landing. I studied it. A rag, or what was left of one, burnt almost beyond recognition. We're testing it for traces of whatever accelerant was used. Stone looked at Harris. When will you know? 48 hours, if we're lucky. Torque finally spoke. What if this person strikes again before then? Harris met his eyes. I think they will. No one argued, because none of us could prove otherwise. Stone straightened. Then we don't wait. He looked around the room. Falcon. Every brother carries a charged phone. No exceptions. Falcon nodded. Done. Torque. Double patrols around the clubhouse and surrounding streets. You've got it. Torch. Every outbuilding. Every property. Checked twice a day. Torch was already writing. Already on it. Stone turned to Ledger. Find me anything linking those three fires. Ownership, Insurance? Neighbors? Anything that overlaps? Ledger nodded. I'll start now. Finally, Stone looked at me. And you. I waited. I don't want you responding alone. I frowned. Stone, he cut me off with a raised hand. I'm serious. If Blaze is injured, you pair up, always. Until we know what we're dealing with. I wanted to argue, but I couldn't. Not with what we were seeing. I understand. He gave a single nod. Good. Harris gathered his file. I'll keep you updated. As he reached the door, he paused. One more thing. He turned back. We found something outside the property. My attention sharpened. What? Tire tracks. Falcon straightened immediately. The blue pickup? Harris shook his head. Possibly. We're still comparing impressions, but he looked directly at Stone. They matched the same unusual tread pattern we found outside your workshop. The room went dead silent. Not similar. Not close. The same. Whoever had been at the workshop had also been at the house. Stone's voice stayed level, but I knew him well enough to hear the edge beneath it. So now we know. Harris nodded once. Yes. For the first time, he opened the door. We're not dealing with 3 separate fires. We're dealing with one person, or one group. I wasn't sure which option was worse. The door clicked shut behind him, and in the sudden silence, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out. Unknown number. I should have ignored it. I didn't. This is Ember. A pause. Then, a voice, distorted and calm. Almost amused. You're asking the wrong questions. Every muscle in my body locked. Who is this? A soft chuckle. If you keep digging, the next fire won't just take a house. The line went dead. I stared at the screen, and for the first time since this started, I was certain of one thing. We weren't chasing this anymore. It was already chasing us. The story isn't over yet. Join me in the next chapter of Ember's Oath.